Hooked on Life, the podcast, is a division of PN Entertainment Canada, inspiring innovation through entertainment.
The opinions expressed in Hooked on Life are for conversational purposes only. This podcast may also contain language that some may find offensive. Now, on to the show.
Hey, I'm Cindy Lynn. I'm a free spirit that is headed into my 50s with abandon. I was an artist who had a midlife break when I turned 37. I left a toxic marriage and moved across the country with 2 kids, no money, and no job. I decided to start life over again on my own terms. I found sobriety, learned to like myself, to show up for my friends and family, found a home in the corporate world, fell in love with my junior high school sweetie Shay. I practiced saying yes every day and love being a badass.
And I'm Shane. Shaner. Or as my wife calls me, Shay Bear. I am British, and I came close to becoming an American, but I'm Canadian. I'm a musician who got lost in the lifestyle and sobered up years ago. I got married to my girlfriend from middle school, but don't worry, we were grown-ups by then. We travel a lot, we own property far, far away, and this podcast was her idea. With all that said, welcome to Hooked on Life.
Are you ready?
I don't know.
Oh, here we go with the breathing again.
You know, not everybody can be born to record into microphones all the time.
Okay, are you ready?
I'm ready. Are you ready? Hey, buy me the pop filter.
Yeah, it's on order. Well, it's not on order. It will be on order, I promise you.
Okay. Sorry to all the listeners out there for my popping and my breathing.
And complaining. Okay, let's get this going.
Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're listening from. I am Cindy Lynn, and I'm here with my love, Shay. And we're thrilled that you've decided to join us for this episode of Hooked on Life, the podcast.
Yes, thank you for joining us.
This is quite an impromptu episode. We were actually sitting very quietly enjoying our coffee, and I decided to bring up an article that I was reading, and we got into quite a hefty conversation about it.
Sorry, what?
Hefty?
Yeah, okay.
We got in, is that I don't know if that's the right word, because it was really good conversation.
For sure.
And we had this moment of, why aren't we recording this for the podcast?
So here we are.
So let's try
to replicate that.
Okay.
This is like Titanic 1997, where James Cameron is trying to recreate the Titanic.
Yeah. Well, let me paint the picture.
This one will float, though, we promise.
So this morning, I woke up and there was a great little video on menopause that Oprah and Maria Shriver had produced together with Drew Barrymore and a couple of doctors, about 45 minutes long. I'll try to include it in the link if I can. And it was really great, just talking about the myths of menopause and how to help yourself so you don't suffer in silence, because it's a pretty huge process that we go through as women, sometimes like 15 years worth of process. And after I had watched that video, I was just looking on the Oprah Daily newsletter, which I subscribe to, and there was an article talking about people pleasing. Now I clicked on that because a theme in our house is me learning to take up space. Is that not correct, dear?
Of course it is, yes. Sorry to interrupt you. It is my belief a strong you is a strong us, and a strong me is a strong us. So, yes, take up space. Own your space. Own your value. Is that true? No, it's not true. It is true. What am I talking about? Yes. Is that what I'm trying to say is that what I'm trying to say? Yes.
I don't want you to be politically correct today. I want you to speak the truth.
I understand that. I just don't want to... Yeah, okay. I will do that.
Okay.
I promise to do that.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that I'm succinct and I'm not talking in a tunnel. That's all.
Okay. I've been brought up by what would have been called the best types of mothers in the world. When people think of who a mom is, a little picture of Doe, her name was Doreen, would probably pop up. She was 110% committed to her family, to her husband, to her children, to her parents, to her friends, to anyone that needed her. She had the neighborhood watch sign in the window. So any little one that was lost or needed help or had to go to the bathroom or whatever they needed, there would always be an open door at our house. And there would usually be some sort of cookie or baked good available. If there was ever mending that needed to be done by anyone, my mom would have been there to help out. She was the quintessential caregiver. And I grew up in the shadow of trying to become like her. But what is interesting, and I wish she was still around to have some of these conversations with her now that I've discovered what I've discovered, is in her zest and her desire to be everything for everybody else. She always came last for herself. And so I too have struggled in that regard. For me, career has been a huge focal point in my life, and ensuring that I was constantly moving up, constantly being challenged, constantly finding new opportunities to grow. And then when I moved to Toronto in 2011, I had the opportunity to change my life, and I started to really put that attention on my kids, helping out at school, baking, cleaning, taking care of the house. And then when you came into my life, it was about being everything for you. And so trying to ensure that you were happy at all times. And I'm sure you can comment on that. That has been actually a big struggle in our relationship, because what you really wanted from me was for me to be my best me and for me to be a strong woman that you could partner with. But my idea of the ideal partner and mother was this vision of the 1950s, 1960s housewife, which my mother did so well, which was constantly trying to please everybody. Do you have any comments on that?
Well, yes. I'm about to barf. I'm about to emotionally vomit right now, and I'll tell you why. In the moments that you were just sharing about your mom, I became very upset, not with your mom, but my experience with my mom. Yeah, I had a completely different 180 experience than what you did. And I was very fortunate to have had the opportunity to spend very good quality time with your mom, not just around the kitchen table, but in a car for a few days at a time. When you would describe how she would, be the neighborhood watch lady and make baked goods for the neighborhood. And that didn't happen in my house. We did have a neighborhood watch sign in our window, but very few people saw it because very few people thought of that in our house. So I have to be honest. 2 minutes ago, I became very selfishly upset with my own experience as you were describing your great experience growing up with your mom. And then you were sharing just now about not my expectations around the house, but what I have asked of you around the house. And, for yourself, right? For yourself. I'm not asking you to be someone that I want you to be. I want you to find who you are and take up space, right? I've always said right from the beginning, I'm totally cool for us to agree to disagree. If you are a Yankees fan, I'm okay with that. As long as we're sitting together at a fucking baseball game, sharing peanuts, holding hands, at the 7th inning stretch, singing Take Me Out to the Ball Game. That's what it is for me. So when you're describing taking up space, yeah, I'm a strong proponent of that. I'm a very loud voice for that, especially around here, and to others, of course, too. I was thinking while you were just saying that, why am I like that? Because that was not modeled in my house. There was a status quo that was in our house. Love it or hate it, that's how it was in my house. My father-in-law grew up with plum jelly, and he says he would never have it again because he grew up with it, and it brings back memories. This too, to think of my wife as subservient, as a simple follower to me and my decision-making and my leadership in the house, makes me very frustrated. It makes me very upset on two fronts. I'm almost like defining this for myself, but first, if we are equals, then I want you to take up space as an equal. And so we're not always going to agree, but it's my job to ensure that you have your voice in the house too. So that's number one. The second part is that I'm humble enough to understand at my age now, I wasn't like this at 21, I'm sure, that I know and I realize that I'm going to miss some things in life. I'm not going to see some things a certain way. The kids come home from school, they're talking about a they-them friend at school, and I don't understand. But I can understand to shut my face and listen to what you have to say and take what you have to say into serious consideration because you may teach me something. That's called humility. Understanding my ineptitude in other areas and know my strengths too. I'm not self-deprecating. As much as I miss your mom, certainly not as much as you miss her, I'm sure, but as much as she has left a void within your clan, my extended family, she taught me some things when she was here on how to treat people, even if it meant getting run over a few times or more than a few times. I don't want that for you. I don't want that for me. But yeah, I'm sorry I just became very selfish in this moment. But when I met your mom, we had 30 seconds and I could feel the judgment over about a 30-second span until I mentioned that I was a Gemini when she said her birthday was June 2nd. So all of a sudden we were Geminis together. And much like other friends that we have, like Jeff Douglas, I tend to get along with other Geminis. I wish I had an upbringing like yours. That's what I have to say.
Can you share the wonderful story of when you put my mom in the airline limo after the first time you met her? I was off for a job interview, and so Shay agreed to come over to my apartment with my mom to ensure that she got herself situated in the car to go back to the airport. Now, he didn't know her very well. They'd spent a little bit of time together. But what had happened is I had moved out here to Toronto with the children, and they got word that I was seeing this Shane Macaulay. And all of a sudden, my mom had booked a trip to Toronto to check out Shay. And I think it was the Boston bombing. You and her watched that on TV together, I think.
That's true.
Yeah. And then you put her in the car, you went to say goodbye, and what happened, Mr. Macaulay? And let me just paint the picture of my mom. I think she was like 4'8", sweet little thing, glasses, short permed hair. Think of the mom from that 70s show. Cute little thing. And what happened?
I'm shaking my head while you're saying this. I can't believe you're making me pull this out.
It's a good one.
This is bullshit, man. The driver gets out of his airline limo. It's a Lincoln. It's one of those, usually a Lincoln. Sometimes it's an Escalade, but in this instance, it was a double black Lincoln. Yeah, it wasn't a Crown Vic. Anyway, the driver gets out and opens the back door for your mom. And she says to me, well, we hope to see you in Calgary soon to come out for a visit and meet Dad, because I had not met your dad at this time. And so she stepped forward for an embrace. And I was very heartwarmed with that moment. I was like, oh my God, she's coming for a hug. So I better get ready for a hug. So we both leaned in together and I misjudged her height. That's really what it was. And by accident, I'm sorry, Dad. I don't know if he knows this. I feel terrible about this. But I forearm shivered her right in the face. Like, I forearmed shivered her right in the face. Anybody who doesn't know what that is, look on any football video and you'll see what I'm talking about. It was a pure accident. I caught her between the orbital bone and her jaw. Not hard. I didn't knock her down, but it was an unspoken moment. Like, she didn't go, oh my God, what did you do? And I didn't go, oh my God, what did I do? It happened. It was an accident. Years later, when we decided to tie the knot, I feel like she wanted to get back at me from that moment because the caterer asked, was there anything else that you want for your reception? And she said, we want chocolate-covered strawberries. And I think the number was 100. These are like $8 a piece. We're not going to do strawberries like that, right? And she says, no. We're going to do chocolate-covered strawberries. And I says, well, I'm the one paying for it. And she says, I understand. I think we should have 100 strawberries. I got her nickel down to about 25. I think we had 25. And we still had leftovers. And you know who got the leftovers? Your mom.
Of course she did. Little dough.
I'm telling you. Anyway, how did we get onto that? Let's talk about what we were talking about.
Because how I was leading into it, God bless you and your ability to go on. I had read an article on people pleasing after I watched the menopause video this morning. I'm in a very sort of female empowerment day. In that article, they had characteristics of men versus characteristics of women. And that's what launched our conversation, which then made us grab the mics to record this. So very quickly, before we go on break, because I think we should go on a break, I'm going to give you those characteristics and then I want you to chew on them and we'll come back. How's that?
That sounds great.
In a Pew Research Center study, which is an American study, they rated the top 3 characteristics of men and the top 3 characteristics of women.
This is just recently?
This was in 2019.
Okay, yeah, recently. That's good.
For men, number 1 was honesty. Number 2 was morality. And number 3 was financial success. For women, number 1 was physical attractiveness. Number 2 was being kind and agreeable. And number 3 was being nurturing. I'm going to have you chew on that, and we'll be right back.
Yeah, let's nurture a commercial.
I'll nurture you.
Oh my God. Thank you for joining us on this episode. Then we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. You are listening to
Hooked on Life.
This portion of today's podcast is brought to you by Playhouse North Acting Studios. Founded by Cindy McCauley in 2004, they offer professional-level training that provides students with a competitive edge that's needed in today's industry. They provide the tools necessary to build a solid foundation, find freedom and confidence in the actor's approach to the work. Using the Meisner technique, they are committed to a positive setting for students to train and cultivate a lifelong practice through a professional approach. For more information on upcoming sessions, contact them at playhousenorthstudios@gmail.com.
All right, have you chewed? Have you been nurtured? Did I nurture you enough on the break?
I told somebody a long time ago, I don't necessarily always chew mac and cheese, like Kraft mac and cheese, and they thought I was an alien. I don't know, does anybody not chew mac and cheese? Like KD.
Like you just let it slide down your throat?
I have been known to do that, yeah.
Oh my God.
What?
Your food eating practices are very strange.
I don't know if I take offense to that, but I'll chew on that for a minute too. Okay, so can you repeat just for my sake? Can you repeat what the top 3 what
characteristics? Men, honest.
Okay.
Telling the truth about life and their feelings and their opinions, speaking their truth. Number 2, morality. Being men of strong virtues and values, living an admirable life like Pa Ingalls. And number 3, financial success, climbing the corporate ladder, going to work every day and toiling for their family to make a better life.
The fucking drama now, here we go.
Hey, do you like that?
Yeah, I feel really moist right now.
All right. Well, this will make you feel moist. Here we go.
Okay.
Female. Number 1, physical attractiveness. Being pretty, being sexy, being dainty, being feminine, being all the things to attract their strong male counterparts. Number 2, being kind and agreeable. Yes, sir. Of course, dear. Can I get you anything else? Have a wonderful day. Of course I'll do that for you. No problem at all. It's fine. And number 3, what we do best. Nurturing. Oh, baby, come here, baby. Let me make you feel better. Let me make it all good. Are you getting the picture?
Oh, yes, I got a picture of you on a theater stage right now under a spotlight. Okay, so let's start where we finished.
Okay.
On our couch this morning. This is where we finished, right? And then we were like, holy shit, we should get this on a podcast, which is where we're here. So thanks for listening, listener. I had shared this morning when I heard this news that my wife had shared with me. And I said, as a man, which I am, hearing those 3 virtues,
they called them characteristics,
made me feel really good. I felt very empowered and strong. And yes, we need to do that. Now, there's a lot of men that do not do that. There are a lot of men that do not behave like that.
Amen.
It may be a characteristic that we are all striving for, but I wouldn't necessarily say to an alien from another planet, how would you describe a male? Those aren't the 3 words I would use right now. I'm fucking honest here. I have struggled with those 3 in the past. Not so much lately, thank God. Sobriety has made my life a lot better.
And I have too, dear.
Yes, but we're talking about men.
I know, yeah.
So that's why I was saying, like, is it a virtue? They sound like virtues to me. We should really try to become these aspects.
I think I'm interpreting, but I think what they were saying was when you think of a man, what are the attributes or characteristics you put to the man? And then it was based on the percentages of the answers from the survey.
Okay, this isn't a self-look dive.
It's what people put on the label of man.
Okay, well, I'll go with that. Let's go with that. I'm fine with that. It still makes me feel good. Yeah, that feels fucking awesome. Yeah. When I hear the 3 characteristics of a female, as a woman, which I'm not, although I did dress up as a woman one year in Halloween and my old man was so upset about it. This is how I was brought up, right? Do something like this for Halloween and my old man thought the end of the world was like about to erupt. But anyway.
You have been called ma'am several times when we've been out.
Yeah. To their defense, my back was turned. So I do have long hair.
It is a great moment when they say, "Can we help you, ma'am?" And you turn around and the look of horror on their faces when they realize they called you a ma'am.
I don't know if I guess you don't notice this, but what I do in that moment, I actually lower my voice even lower.
Oh, God.
They're like, holy shit, is this a Hell's Angel? Well, it just might be, pissant. Anyway, okay, so let's get back to this.
Yes. What do you think of when you hear the 3 female characteristics?
Not good at all. Not good at all. If I was a woman, which, once again, I am not a woman, I am an equal rights feminist. I am not a woman. I keep saying this over and over like I have to defend myself.
Just get to it.
I would be very, very upset. We grew up with a TV show back in the day. Michael Landon had just got off of Bonanza and he wanted to do something different. He found the Laura Ingalls book, or Laura Ingalls Wilder books, and they created Little House on the Prairie. It was a huge show. We talked about Melissa Sue Anderson, Melissa Gilbert, all the great stars on the show. They all look fantastic even today. This is a long time ago. And that was from the 1970s TV, portraying the 1870s. This is a long time ago, representing the long fucking time ago. And there was Pa with his ribs tied together because he broke a rib and he had to go farm and toil the field. There was Pa having to sell animals to keep the food on the table and had to, race to Mankato to deliver supplies and shit in a rainstorm. And then there was Ma, and she was looking after the children. She was making sure the slates were clean for school. She was always hand washing clothes in a bucket outside on their clothesline on the hill. And I'm talking about the show. I'm not talking about the book. And there she is churning the butter. And that was a representation of the 1800s. Then you're describing your mom from the 60s and the 70s. Very much aligned. She's not churning butter. She's buying butter. But she's the one buying butter. And now we fast forward, not 100 years, but let's say 50 years. What has changed? The characteristics of a female are no different than 1970 and 1870. I would hope that it has improved. And I know that there's more females, more women in CEO positions in bigger companies. This is a positive. There are more growth with government. There are more women leaders in government. But this Pew statistics, if it is true, and I'm not arguing that it isn't. I'm saying, okay, let's say it is. This is bullshit. This is not fucking good. Not good for the female persuasion. What do you're staring at me like I have 2 heads.
Yeah,
Did I say something rude or something?
I love it when you speak strong like that. It's disheartening, but I don't think it's just segmented to women's issues. I think when we are looking at some of the racism, bias that we have going on, not only in America, but in Canada as well, as much as we talk the talk, I still think deep inside people's homes, inside their bedrooms, the shifting of that generational thought is very difficult to move. And it's disheartening on many, many levels, how people seem to be unable to accept or move forward or evolve their thinking. Now, I know we have made progress. I know that, women are accepted to not have children, to be single. But I would argue even that. I think people have learned how to politically be correct at parties and how to welcome single women into their homes. But when those women go home, do they sit in their living rooms and say, it's too bad that woman can't find a nice man to settle down with. It's too bad she's going to be all alone.
The spinster.
Yeah.
The cat lady.
Why is a woman not allowed to be alone? Why is a woman not allowed to say, I am not interested in being a mother? Even though my body is able to produce children, I'm not interested in that. I mean, look at what's going on in America right now. Can you believe how they have turned back the clock in terms of women's rights. It's shocking.
Yeah. An old person told me one time, a long time ago, how am I going to say this? The stage of life that you don't want to be alone in is your final stages. And that's why a lot of people that have lost their spouses through death, through illness, through Alzheimer's. I lost my uncle, my adopted uncle here in Toronto through Alzheimer's. I lost my blood uncle through a sudden death, through alcoholism, no less. The last phase of your life, you should be living with other people, like a retirement home or assisted living, or not alone, because it's not good for our mental well-being, right? And so we kind of already know that. And so if people are choosing to live alone, that can become a deterrent.
Let me qualify that answer. They are choosing not to take on a spouse. Doesn't mean that they don't have friends and a support system.
But friends can come and go too, right? Spouses don't normally come and go unless you want to get a divorce. I see you every day. I don't see my friends every day. We don't want to be alone. We're not going to be alone. We're going to take a short break because we're going to be right here when you come back. So we'll take a short break and we'll continue with this conversation. I'm not sure if we're going to talk about, I don't know where this is going, but I'm very interested. I'm actually very curious and very interested because I'm interested in this kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Yeah, Simon's just keep giving me the wave. We'll be right back. We'll be right back. Please come back. You're listening to
Hooked on Life.
Hey listener, yes you, I'm talking to you. Are you sitting there wondering how you can be a part of Hooked on Life? We are looking for corporations and people, yes people just like you, who want to help sponsor our little podcast. There's so much we can do together. If you are hooked to help, contact us right now at hookedonlifethepodcast@gmail.com and in the subject line say, I want to help. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Podbean. And we want to thank you for continuing to support Hooked on Life.
All right, we're back. Are you ready?
This is Hooked on Life. This is my wife, Cindy Lynn, and I am this guy.
You're my Shay Bear.
There you go. Roar.
So I just want to take a minute here, before we get off track, to talk about how women have been modeled in entertainment and how seeing different versions of, and I'm going to focus on the mother because I think it's that sort of archetype that's really been shown prominently throughout the years in the sitcom.
Great.
So when we look at the 1960s, 1970s, I'm going to name some women. You can tell me if you know who they are. Carol Brady.
Oh, the Brady Bunch, of course. She was great.
Why was she great? What was great about her?
Well, she was a strong woman. In the show, give her a second, right? Give us all a second here. It's on retro play on our TV right now. And I'm working during the day, so I don't get to see it often. But if there's a day off, I'll be able to see it, which I don't have a day off lately. It's been very busy lately. What's her name? I can't remember. Florence Henderson.
Right.
She's spunky. She's fluid with her actions and emotions. She's energetic. She's a gamer. In the storyline, she has 3 daughters, and she meets a man
who she doesn't know is actually gay.
In real life.
In real life.
Did she not know that he was... Okay, anyway, let's not...
Not in the story. In the story, he was a straight man.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
With 3 boys, and she was willing to take... Now, wait a minute. We do have Alice, the housekeeper.
Correct.
In that fucking orange kitchen.
Amen.
Oh, orange and brown. Kill me now. Anyway, seriously, this was really fucking ugly. The living room was nice. It was a sunken living room with a big open stairway. But seriously, the kitchen was a fucking disaster. Anyway, Florence Henderson, the mom, Carol Brady, was taking on 4 more dirty people in her house. He was an architect, right? So she got to stay at home. But she didn't stay at home, or they didn't really portray it. She did stay at home, but she was more active than the average mom on a TV show. Okay, I've said that. Go ahead.
Now listen, you can't go on and on about every single person I'm going to mention.
Okay.
Or we'll be here forever.
Okay.
Number 2, Edith Bunker.
Very serving to her husband.
Oh, yes.
Not self-serving. The opposite of whatever the opposite of self-serving.
Yeah. You've already mentioned her, Ma Ingalls.
Yeah. I have to say, especially in the early years, And I'm forgetting her name too. The actress's name. Karen Grassel. She was so fucking beautiful.
She really was. Inside and out.
Well, yeah, I don't know about inside because she was just an actor in the show.
I thought you meant as a character.
I'm talking about her. She was just so fucking beautiful. She had very, very little makeup on her face because it was a period piece, right? She was so fucking beautiful.
Well, if we're going to talk about the beauty of Little House, we cannot underestimate the pure gold of Michael Landon.
I thought you were going to say the storekeeper guy. He was one licking good guy, eh?
There was a period of time that the four of us would sit on that couch every day when the kids came home from school, and we would watch Little House together. And you would pine over Ma, and I would pine over Pa.
Yeah, let's get back on track here.
Let's get back on track, shall we? And then fourth, Mrs. C. Sunday, Monday, happy day.
Oh, Mrs. Cunningham.
Mrs. Cunningham.
She was on a repeat of Love Boat. Yeah. Just recently that we saw it. Not recently. It was shot in 1981 or something like that.
She was playing a Southern hick whose father was none other than Slim Pickens, and her son was Donnet Osmond.
When I think of TV moms, in the description that you're trying to aim for, which is
pre-women's movement.
Yeah, that's her.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. We would catch her on an episode dusting and cleaning and sweeping and cooking and shit like that.
So that was the era of our mothers.
Yes.
That's how they were pictured, I would say.
And then our moms watched.
Correct. And they tried to emulate. Fast forward into Gen X, where we were young people and we were looking at entertainment. We had some different kind of role models. We had Claire Huxtable.
Oh, she was very strong.
Totally strong. She was a lawyer. She was a volunteer. She was a mother. She was a doting wife.
Well-dressed, well-spoken.
Oh, yes.
Well put together.
Yes, very much so.
Although they had a butler, too. No, they didn't have a butler.
No, they did not.
I'm thinking about Fresh Prince.
But those kids did chores.
Yes.
We had Angela from Who's the Boss?
Angela Bauer, yes.
Angela Bauer, single, divorced woman, high-powered advertising executive.
Judith Light, yeah, she's lovely too.
Yeah. We had Elise Keaton from Family Ties.
Her character, I don't know where you're going to go with this, but her character, as the seasons continued, the writers started to build a dynamic, a gritty dynamic between her and her husband.
That's right.
Because she wanted her to get her career going again after having children.
That's right.
And he was very supportive of it, but the household still had to run. I say that in quotations, right? So he was cool with her having a career again, so long as the house didn't turn upside down. Which is really fucking shitty, right? She did have the career, though. But
she did, and then she got pregnant later in life, which was the first later life pregnancy we saw on TV. And that threw a whole wrench into the game because was she to give everything up because now she was having another baby?
And that little actor that played that little son has had a real rough go in real life. I think he ended up in prison at one point.
Number 4, we had Roseanne.
Yeah, she was a working lady too. She was real rough and tumble. I think she really is, or at least was back in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. In real life, a real rough and tumble.
Yeah.
Like, my mom would call it a rough and tumble. And that's what I think she was like that.
So the values that we learned were that we could have it all. We could be like our moms and bake and cook dinner for our family every night and have babies. And we could have full careers and we could have a great fucking wardrobe to do it.
Right, yes.
That's what we learned. And in turn, what we developed was anxiety, exhaustion, and feeling like we were never good enough because it was impossible to do it all that well.
I just want to say on behalf of the men, all these sitcoms, these shows that we watched, very little pushback from the husbands in those shows.
Yeah.
They were quite supportive.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't think men, the husbands, have been what has stood in the way for the most part. I mean, I'm sure there has been that at some point. I'm sure if Edith Bunker went to go get a job, Archie would have had a real hard time with that.
Yeah, that was the era, right?
But it created this idea that we still needed to be good mothers, look great, serve our husbands, and have a job. You certainly didn't see the husbands in these shows changing their lives to help their wives.
No.
But they supported them for basically doing 3 jobs.
Yes.
Yeah, just want to be clear with that. Sheryl Sandberg, Facebook CFO. She was a part of the C-suite of Facebook when it was in its early stages. I don't know where she is now. She wrote that great book, Lean In, and she talks about that, about women creating this unrealistic ideal for themselves that then led to this sense of anxiety, never being enough, feeling like we had to live up to these attributes: attractive, kind and agreeable, nurturing, even though deep down inside, what we wanted was to be valued, to have a voice, to be successful on our own, and to take up space. So fast forward to some of the changes that we've seen in terms of women. We have Lorelai from the Gilmore Girls, had a child very young, basically trying to keep it together. Really wonderful woman, strong woman. We see her journey in terms of finding herself and taking up space, but not conventional. She's not a stay-at-home housewife. She doesn't bake cookies. She doesn't feel the need to volunteer on all the school trips, but she's still a great woman and she's still a good mom. We see Claire Dunphy from Modern Family, who brings out the comic side of the fact that even though she tries hard, she's not perfect, and that perfection isn't in the cards, and that doesn't mean that a family isn't great because she's not perfect. We see Rainbow Junction on the show Blackish, who I would say is like the modern day Claire Huxtable. So she's strong black woman, but not perfect. Doesn't feel the need to be everything to everyone and doesn't apologize for it. And then fourthly, we have Moira from Schitt's Creek, who is really off the path in terms of what we think of as a stereotypical mother, but nonetheless, she loves her family and she works to be her best her, even though she marches to her own bloody drum, as only Catherine O'Hara can. God, she's brilliant. So we are moving forward to realize that women are not perfect. We are moving forward to realize that women can take up space and that women can live the lives they want to live. But these studies, that's 2019. What do we do to move forward that perception? Or do we just change what? Do I just focus on changing myself? Do I just focus on showing up every day? And in those moments where I feel the need to become small in order to make you feel better or to make my children happy, do I just stop the clock and make a decision to do what is best for me? And then in that, hopefully generations down the road will change. Empower my daughter to take up space. That it's okay if she doesn't want to wear a dress at her graduation. It's okay if she says, I do not want to eat this at the dinner table, and empower her to have a strong voice and to be her best her, even though it doesn't necessarily go along or make things easy or make her agreeable. What do you think moving forward? What do we do to encourage women to move past, to encourage men and women to move past this idea and get women to stop pumping bloody shit into their faces?
Well, first of all, I don't know.
That's not the right answer. You better think of something damn fast, because I've been going on here for a good 5 minutes.
We live on a planet that somehow, some way, spins and floats around our galaxy, around our sun. And it's really amazing. The Earth is not flat. It is round, and it is beautiful from space. And yet, here we are destroying it as we go, right? That's just the way we do things around here, I guess. Every once in a while, a volcano will explode, and ash and fire and bedlam will incur. Every once in a while, there will be an earthquake. Los Angeles, through Japan, through Europe, and the earth will shift. But it's sudden, and then it stops. There's devastation, there's damage, there's death. At the end of the day, it stops. Over a long period of time, the continents move, and the ocean moves with it. Millions and millions and millions of years ago, there was only one continent. It was called Pangaea, what the scientists and the historians call Pangaea.
We always find a way to bring it back, don't we?
To what?
To diaspora, to Pangaea.
No, what I'm trying to say is there will be change. There will be change. North America will not be where it is now in 100 million years. It will be differently positioned. It will be twisted. It'll be upside down. Or it doesn't matter. In 100 million years, it won't matter to any of us. As long as the planet is still here, I'm sure it will be in some form or another. These characteristics will change, but it's not going to change overnight, and it won't change over a year. And clearly it hasn't changed in 50. I hope that it does change. I hope it changes, and it changes for the better. Change is good. When I got sober, change was something that I didn't want to deal with. But I've embraced the idea of change. Change is okay. Even if it's uncomfortable, it's okay. But I do hope there'll be change. And I think there will be change. But don't for a minute think that the dinosaurs are going to come back tomorrow. Like, that's not going to happen. They may come back again, but it won't be tomorrow. I hope it changes for the better, and I hope it changes sooner than later. And I bet it will. But it's going to take a long time. And just to finish what you were saying, why are they putting Botox in their face? And guys are doing this too. I don't understand. Can we not just age gracefully?
I do hear that it helps with migraines.
Okay. When did it really come out of, like, when did it start coming out? Like, I don't know. 20 years ago? 25 years ago? I don't remember. Anyway, it's getting to this point where it's just crazy, right?
Well, listen, just like in recovery, we focus on this lovely little mantra, one day at a time. I think for me, I need to focus on what I can do to better my life and to better the lives of those around me, to support the women in my life, to take up space and to support my daughter, to learn how to have a strong voice in her life and to find her best her. And I'm going to end this episode today by thanking you for encouraging me and making room for me to become my best me and for not settling, because it would be easy. I take care of you very well. I work really hard to make you happy. It would be very easy as a man to just sit back and love that shit. I think a lot of men, I know there's a lot of men in my past that have loved my nurturing, kind, affectionate nature. The fact that you have said, you are more than that. I want you to find your best you and take up the space you deserve in your life. I am forever grateful to you, my partner, in that.
I don't know whether I should say thank you or you're welcome or what am I supposed to do, but there you go. Oh, I'm glad. I'm glad that you feel empowered. More empowerment, please. And we can, I think just as a little footnote, we can feel empowered without becoming controlling.
Yes, or bitchy.
Yeah.
I do think when this episode is over, I might have to blast some Pink and put on my stretchy jeans and rock it out a little bit.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, that's pretty powering.
Is that okay? I think you're taking me for hot dogs.
Yeah, I think we're heading over to Easterbrooks, just down outside of Burlington, under the Burlington Skyway for some hot dogs. I'm sure we'll have an updated review of it when we're done. Sounds good, though.
Mm.
So that's that. Yeah?
That is that.
Okay. That was a good episode, I would say.
Impromptu, but we did good on the fly, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it was informative, and I think it was helpful. It was helpful to me.
There's one mom I didn't mention that I need to give a shout out to.
Who's that?
Marge.
Oh, Marge Simpson.
Oh, my God.
Was she that strong, though?
No.
No, not at all.
But she's so fucking cute.
She's not that cute. I mean, she's a cartoon character.
Wow.
Roger Rabbit was cute. No, not Roger Rabbit.
Jessica Rabbit?
Jessica Rabbit was cute. Roger Rabbit.
Well, I didn't say Marge was necessarily, like, sexy.
No, but you said cute. Oh, I guess you're cute in what
like, she's sweet.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
She had her moments in the show.
Yeah.
She was with Homer. That's a tough slug in life, being the wife of Homer.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm Homer, am I? Who would I be as a cartoon character?
What was the term that we gave you? Was it the last episode? Asaholic? Asaholic moments? Was that what it was?
Asholic.
Asholic.
Yeah, he's looking at me. He's like lip reading.
All right, let's get the hell out of here.
Yeah, he's lip reading it. I'm reading his lips. Asholic.
Let's get my pink on.
Okay, well that's that. Okay, thank you for joining us. This is ridiculous. Thank you for joining us on our episode. We really do appreciate your constant listening and your constant following. We like you to continue to follow us. If you haven't already, please join us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can find us on Google. You can find us on Podbeam and all of your favorite little podcast following places to go. I have no idea what I'm saying.
And comment. We want to hear from you.
Yeah, that's a dangerous thing to say, but yeah, we are interested to hear what you have to say. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on what we were talking about with the TV moms?
Because you know what? We have opinions, but we are certainly not experts by any stretch of the imagination.
Without a mom, we wouldn't be here.
Amen.
None of us.
Miss my mom.
I miss her too. Thank you to Simon. Thank you to Audacity. Thank you to everyone that continues to support our little podcast that could. I thank you, my dear, for setting up this podcast. I'll keep saying that every time we do this podcast because I think if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be doing it. So I really appreciate it. I love you very much, dear.
I love you too, sweetheart.
You have been listening to another episode of
Hooked on Life.
If you enjoyed this episode of Hooked on Life and you'd like to help support the podcast, please subscribe to our channel. We would also love to hear from you. If you have any ideas for future Hooked on Life podcasts, feel free to drop us a line. You can stay up to date with Cindy and Shane by following them on Facebook and Instagram. And remember, don't worry about tonight's sunset, because there will always be one tomorrow. See ya!